Now, about 3 days ago, Tottenham Hotspur announced their first piece of business of the summer outside of officially getting Lucas Bergvall for €10 million. They had announced that, to many people's surprise, that Tottenham Hotspur had signed 18-year-old Archie Gray from Leeds United for £40 million, an extremely hefty price tag for a player who has played just one full season in professional football in the second division of England at the age of just 18 years old. And I've seen a lot of people question the signing, and I can completely understand. Whether it's because you don't really know who he is, whether it's because you think that £40 million price tag is extremely pricey for an 18-year-old player coming from the Championship, claiming the price tag to be based purely on so-called English tax. But I'm here to say, even as an Arsenal fan, saying that I actually love this signing for Spurs, and I really think that Archie Gray could very well make that £40 million price tag look very cheap at the end of a season or two. But just what makes Archie Gray so special, and why do I think this is really good business by Ange and Spurs? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Archie Gray joined Leeds United at the under-9 level, and he went through the academy at Leeds United very quickly. And at the age of 15 years old, thanks to a request by Marcelo Bielsa, Gray was training on a regular basis with the Leeds United first team, and on December 18th, 2021, Archie Gray was named on the bench against Arsenal in a Premier League game at the age of just 15 years old. But his professional debut would only come 2 years later. On August 6th, 2023, he made his debut and would start against Cardiff City in the first game of the Championship season, played in the heart of the midfield alongside Ethan Ampadu. Archie Gray would then last season go on to make a staggering 52 appearances and getting 2 assists for Leeds United, making the bulk of his appearances at right back due to recurring injuries to Bayern and the departure of Jed Spence and Ayling. He was forced to go into the right back position because of that, but even there he was still so impressive. But for the first 10 games of the season or so, Archie Gray would play mainly in defensive midfield, even central midfield, or even sometimes he'd make appearances in attacking midfield. Archie Gray went from making his debut at the beginning of the season to finishing the season as one of, if not the first names of the team sheet of a Leeds United team that made it to the Championship playoff finals. Now listen, although he played most of his games at right back due to necessity, to me, and I'm sure to most of the footballing world that has ever watched Archie Gray to me is better suited in midfield, more specifically defensive midfield. Archie Gray is very well-rounded, especially considering he is just 18 years old. He's very good at controlling the tempo, pulling the strings. He's very good at maintaining possession for his team, which is a very important attribute for a defensive midfielder. He has a very high level of confidence on the ball, which is impressive to see from an 18-year-old. He has a good football IQ, he's not a bad dribbler at all, he has a good range of passing and has a decent level of vision. Archie Gray, despite being quite tall and quite lanky, he's also very good at wriggling out of tight spaces, be it in the midfield or be it on the touchline, with some really good quick footwork. Gray easily has all the tools to become an elite defensive midfielder / central midfielder, at least on the ball anyway. Defensively at times, he could be slightly weak in challenges, or he could be a tad bit lost positioning wise, or just overall bad marking at times on the defensive end. But I draw his weak defensive performances down to him playing 4 different positions at the age of 18 in his first season of professional football in a very tough and very physical league that is the Championship. Now, although Archie can play at fullback, I really don't think that suits his game, being that he is much better suited in the middle and he hasn't got tons of pace, nor is he really a high level 1v1 defender, so I prefer not to see him playing at fullback for Spurs, and I hope and I pray for the sake of Archie Gray's development that Ange and Spurs don't use him as a fullback and don't develop him as a right-sided fullback. I just hope that isn't the case, and rather develop Archie Gray into an elite holding midfielder capable of playing an 8 or a 10 when needed. And then you look at the Spurs squad, and with the fact that Spurs seemingly have more than enough fullback help with guys like Jed Spence if he stays, Emerson if he stays, Pedro Porro all being right backs, I don't see a reason or a need for Archie Gray to play at right back unless out of necessity due to injuries or sales. And now onto the price tag. Was £40 million an overpay from Spurs for someone that is only 18 and has had just one professional season in football? Well, based on right now, like if potential was completely out of the question and you look at his game just right now, then of course it's an overpay. Of course it is. But when you pay for a player as young as he is with the high ceiling that he has, you will have to pay top dollar, especially with rumored interest from Liverpool and all other clubs around Europe. You'd have to pay top dollar. And then also with him being English from an English club, which will make him count as a homegrown player for Spurs. And because English clubs are oftentimes more better off financially than smaller European teams, again, you'll have to pay more than if you played for, let's say, some random team in Croatia. Of course you would have to pay more. That's why English tax does definitely have a say on every single price tag between two English clubs, especially for a young 18-year-old that made 52 appearances in the championship last season. But even so, I still think in today's market, when you look at it as a whole, £40 million, listen, it isn't cheap, but it really isn't that expensive either. I mean, West Ham have all but confirmed the signing of Max Kilman from Wolves, who's a decent enough player, for the exact same price tag as Spurs have now paid for Archie Gray. Now, I know Kilman, you could argue saying that Kilman, although isn't amazing, he's a proven Premier League player that's base for the high price tag is what he's already done on the pitch in the Premier League, as opposed to the base of the price tag for Gray primarily being based on potential. But again, I really think £40 million is a decent price tag to pay for an 18-year-old with so much promise, such a high ceiling. I think it's worth it. But I really like Ange, and I think that with some good developments to Archie Gray as a holding midfielder and not a fullback, well, like I said in the intro, he could easily live up to the price tag and make that £40 million price tag look reasonably cheap. Now, I don't think Gray will start just yet for Spurs, which makes me wonder why Gray even thought he should leave Leeds United this summer. If I was Gray, I'd probably stay at least one more season, get another season under my belt, and maybe then leave if we don't get promoted. I just think it would be better for his development because I don't see how he becomes a starter at Spurs this season alone. But I think Ange is a really good coach that has proven he's able to get the best out of players, and I really hope that Ange and Spurs can develop Archie Gray properly and turn him into the superstar that his potential suggests he will be.